Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how I made this prank trap system. It's very easy, very basic, and works very effectively. You can use it for many different things besides this, but this is how I ended up using it, and here's how you can too. Super simple. There are inputs, middle or brains, and outputs. Inputs are stuff like buttons, switches, tripwires, pressure plates, anything that you can think of that would activate a circuit. The brains are typically stuff like the batteries, and I added a timer circuit. You can add Arduinos. Then there's the wiring that connects it. Then there's outputs. This is super simple, yet it can do a lot of things. Nichrome wire. I have 28 gauge of this. Stuff is so great. You just add some current through it and it heats up really hot, and then you can be able to do a lot of things with that. You can make it where it lights up a firework, cuts a rope, anything of that sort. So it's just three main things, and I'll show you how to make all of this type of stuff. Okay, so these are all the inputs I have. I have some pigtail female connectors on each one of the inputs, brains, and the outputs. So for the inputs, I just have a normal limit switch connected to one of these. Then I have another limit switch, but the polarity is flipped, so every time I let it go, it activates. I did the same thing twice and then added this little shell. This allows it to, when you stick this on top of a doorway or something, and then the string goes on the door, and then when it gets pulled, it just pops right out and then it activates. And then I have a pressure plate, something that I can like bury under dirt or put leaves on top or a piece of fabric or something like that. The way this works is just 2 plates of wood, and then I have tin foil taped in between each plate with the wire, one of the wires touching each one of the plates. Right now it's a little messed up, so I'm gonna have to redo that. But that's the inputs. Alright, and now this is all of the brains. So I have the timer circuit. I'll explain more about this. But when it comes to making these, very basic, same thing. I just have some 9-volt connectors, wired it up right to a female connector. I have 2 of them. And I 3D printed this little case. Anyways, it allows it to be able just to slide in, and then I can take a 9-volt and put it right on top and clicks in place. This just makes it a little easier to attach to things and other stuff like that. I just don't have this glued down yet. After that, I have all the wires. This is what connects everything together. I just have 2 male connectors connected to each other, and then just a long cable. So it's literally just a male connector connected, red to red, all the way to a other male connector. Then I have a bigger battery pack. This set is made from literally just AA's. So I have 8 batteries in total here. And the way it works is I just have one of these wires connected to here, goes from positive, negative to positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, and then I have another one coming here. So you would have the 2 wires go right into here, and then you connect these in series, tape it together, and then that gives you a bigger amount of power. So I just did that 8 times on these. And then if you don't want to do the whole circuit, which I definitely suggest you do, you can easily just end up doing this. So red to black, red to black, red to black, all the way in a circle with female connectors. What this allows you to do is you put the input, you put the power, and then you put the output. This just allows it to simply have the power to activate the switch, that goes to the output. But that is all about the brains. Okay, so I'm going to give a brief summary on how this thing works. The way I ended up doing it, there is a female connector on each point. And if I go off of this, there's the input, so I hooked up a button. The power, so I hooked up a 9-volt to power this and the button. Then there's normally closed and normally open. Normally open means when I press the button, it will give a signal out to this and will turn it on, or whatever you're wanting to turn on. Then you can plug it in the other way on normally closed, and what ends up happening is it turns something off for whatever period of time or whatever thing. So basically the rundown of this is there is stop, set, up, and down. The set allows you to be able to set it to different modes. So there's 7 different modes before it loops back to 1. You can move up and down. Then if you hold set, it turns off. But anyways, you can just go through each one of these. And there are 2 different ways of powering it, actually like 2 to 3. You can either plug it in from a micro USB or from a battery pack or into the wall, or you can just power it by a 9-volt or something in between at 3.7 to 24 volts. But I ended up taking a long time 3D printing and designing this case for it. Literally just slides on in. You end up putting each one of these buttons into the channels on this, and then you just slide it right on top and over. And then you can glue it down on the sides and hold it in place. That is just basically the brief summary of that. Just remember that it's just female connectors on each one of these. Okay, now the last thing is just the output. Right now I just have this, and it's very basic. I have a female connector just running through the wire, and at the very end I took a pen tube, cut it to a small length, added a cap, hot glued it, and then I put a hot metal needle and poked a hole right through there, and just added a little thin piece of Nichrome wire and just wired it on each side from the wire, and then just glued it down. This allows me to fill it full of flash cotton, flash paper, which those are completely separate things, but what those allow you to do is either shoot something, or like gunpowder practically, but you can get it at a magic store and it's cheap. And then there's flash paper, which just gives you a fireball effect. So you literally can be pointing this at someone, shoot it, it makes this big fireball, and even if it's on them, it doesn't hurt or anything, and it's just completely fine. So this is what I use to shoot literally just tiny fireballs at people or other things like that. Do be very cautious and don't point it towards the eyes or any face. Like, if anything, just shoot it at their feet. That just gives them a startle, and that's what you want out of it. You don't want to hurt someone. Okay, and this is the demonstration. I know this looks like a mess, but it's just because I have a lot extra wire I don't really need. I'm probably gonna add some extra just connectors like this. It just shortens it all down. But basically how this is just the 9-volt, which powers the switch in this. Then it goes out the normally open into this big hoard of wires into the splitter. The splitter is what ends up powering this, the little fireball shooter, and then the 8-pack of AA's. So what I ended up doing is when I press the button, the timer will go off for 2 seconds, which is just enough to heat up the coil, and it will shoot the flash paper. You can get flash paper and flash cotton at Magic Man. It's like $8 for a whole thing of just flash paper, which just lights on fire really fast, or if you want to research about it, it's called nitrocellulose. Anyways, so if I press the button, it goes off for 2 seconds and shoots a little fireball. So you can set this up at a door, and instead of this, you literally use the tripwire module, and you can just have it where it shoots out at someone, or really anything you can think of. Alright, that's the end of this video. Drop a comment down below if, what I can make better about this. This is my first video after all, but this is mainly just explaining, how simple this kind of type of stuff is. And if I didn't explain it well enough, well, drop another comment of, what I can do better about all of this, and I'll make a whole nother video just explaining it in more detail if you would like. But that's the end of the video.